I cannot wait to welcome back to the show Joseph Okaly. Joseph is the owner of New Horizons Wealth Management Firm and owner of New Horizons Wealth Management Podcast, which I was so excited to see. That was a little new for me, where he provides practical, relatable, and actionable finance advice. And man, do we need that? And you do this in a very direction, not perfection kind of way. So welcome, Joseph.
Thank you so much. It's great to be back here, Lindsay, and really excited to talk to you and everybody out there today.
So excited to have you. And I know that some of our listeners might be like, what? We're talking finances. Why aren't we talking health? Why aren't we talking weight loss? And I just wanted to layer that in quickly so nobody leaves us because this all overlaps so beautifully. And one of my quick ways to pull you in on this is when we get nervous about finances or we get anxiety over a certain area of our life. And today we're going to talk finances, but that can really lead into a lot of emotional eating, stress eating. And some people don't even realize like that's their little nugget that they need to be looking at and changing that could really ripple into other good health behaviors. So I'm going to flip this over to you, but I just needed our listeners to hear that because this is such a I'm so excited to have you. You've just put out a new book, and I want you to start there with the financial pinwheel.
Yeah, absolutely. And what you said is I feel like the direction, not perfection. You could title that for a financial podcast because it's the same kind of mindset. I mean, money is one of the top three things people worry about, top three things that people fight with their spouse about. And all that ties into, like you said, eating and everything else that we do emotionally and how we handle that. So it's such a great fit here for talking with you about it. And the financial pinwheel is the book. I have online resources that go with that as well. But the point of it is to try to help people feel better about that. And it doesn't have to be perfect. Like, we want to go in the right direction. We don't have to be perfect about it. But like when it comes to our physical health, there's just so much out there. And we don't get a great education on finances or health a lot of times in school. And so really getting the right resources, the right items to follow and a process to follow is so important. So what I usually compare this to is the information that we see online is often very quick hitters. So it might be like the top five best eating habits or the top five car leases of the month. And we're hit with all of this information. And so it's really about what is not the short piece of information I should be following. What is the long line of the piece of information I should be following? What's the process that I could really be following? And that's what the financial pinwheel is trying to help people do is follow that long line, get a process. So the financial pinwheel is essentially an analogy or a metaphor for how your finances are working. So if you think of your lifestyle expenses, that's the financial pinwheel. You picture like a pinwheel in your hand. That's how much you're living on. And so some people have big pinwheels, some people have small pinwheels, but just being more intentional about what is the size of my pinwheel, how much energy it takes to spin it, and what can I do to take some of my financial energy, grab it, put it to the side, put it in a financial battery so down the road I can spin that pinwheel for myself and I don't have to worry on working for the rest of my life. I have that freedom to say, hey, I'm building something that's mine that I could keep. And that way I don't have to worry about how I'm going to spin this financial pinwheel. I can see how all those different pieces come together.
That's so good. I love put it in a financial battery, like that relief of maybe down the road it just does itself. Ha!
Exactly. Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think it's also important to say, and this is one of your podcast titles, but aren't advisors for old people made me chuckle. Like, I think it's important to let individuals know you actually work more with younger families.
Oh, yeah. I love working with young families. There's so much possibility with the time element that you have. So we have some people that'll come into our office in our traditional kind of way and they say, okay, I'm going to retire next week. Am I going to be okay? And the answer I always have is, well, I really hope so, because we don't have any time to fix it. So just like
Yeah.
you don't want to go to the doctor right when you have a really big health item, you want to try to keep yourself healthy in advance of that. We want to try to keep ourselves financially healthy in advance. And the best way to do that is getting in the right habits when we're young, to take the right steps when we're young. And that way we're on a good track down the road and we gives us way more flexibility. So if we want to do a little bit more of vacationing, or we want to do a little bit more of helping our kids with school, or want to maybe retire a little bit earlier, we'll have that flexibility built in because we don't have to play catch up in our 50s or 60s or something like that down the road.
I love that you just tied those two things together. And I think you'll appreciate this that we've recently been talking a lot more about, like meeting our 80-year-old self
Oh,
and
that's awesome. I
believe,
love that.
right? Like believing there was somebody that said, I'm going to finally start to believe that she's real. And it actually was dealing around finances because if we don't believe that person's even real to start with, whether it's from a health standpoint that we don't think that we're healthy enough to make it to 80, or that we don't even believe she's real. So financially, what does it matter what we're doing right now?
Right.
Like, how do you pull your clients into that belief system that, hey, this could be very real for you? So,
It's
like,
funny because
yeah.
once you start looking at some of this stuff, I know it's intimidating. Finances are not the most fun thing. I don't expect someone to come home on a Friday night and be like, "Whew, let's talk about finances. I really want to unwind and talk about finances." So I know it's not the most fun topic to go through, but the relief that you get from having a good idea of where you are, you don't have to know exactly where you are. But the book, what I'm trying to do is I have anywhere from 10 to 12 simple exercises that take only 5 to 10 minutes each to give you that idea. Hey, am I where I need to be with my life insurance so my family's protected? Hey, am I on track am I saving as much as I should be? I'm a teacher, I have a pension. Do I need to save 20%? Do I need to save 5%? So those little short exercises are kind of like little steps. And you turn around at the end of the book and you see, hey, I went up 20 steps. I'm feeling pretty good with where I am right now. And removing those unknowns through those little steps is what gives people such relief. Because I have some people come into my office and they're in great shape and they don't know it. And I have to say, you're not only doing so well that you're on track, you need to spend more money. Like you're not doing enough. They love hearing that. But the flip side of it, those people that maybe not be exactly where they need to be, they
Mm.
also leave the meeting feeling really good because there's no more unknowns. They know that I need to save $100 more per month to get where I need to be. Before they came in, they might be like, do I have to save 500? Do I have to save 1,000? They don't know. And so the unknown part of it, we could take that out and show people, here's the track that you're on, and this is what you need to do to maybe improve the track you're on. They leave with control. They leave with knowing, hey, this is what I have to do to get to where I want to be. And that part is so powerful. The unknown aspect is the biggest fear from a health perspective, I'm sure, too. Finances, any part of life, the unknown part is usually the worst part of it.
Oh, absolutely. And this is where I'm loving that you have a book accompanying what you do with individuals in person or virtual, because I like this phrase, action relieves anxiety. I'm hearing through your book alone, they can start taking those actionable steps through those questions that you provide, your prompts that you provide. And then it gives them enough relief to take the next actionable step where they might find that belief system, I deserve to work with a financial advisor, or I actually have the funds to work with a financial advisor. And I'd love
Yeah.
for you to dismantle some of those limiting beliefs that you have to be rich to have a financial advisor.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about people that are well off, or you look at them and you say they're rich, like two things. One, just because they have a big financial pinwheel, meaning they're showing a lot of wealth and a big lifestyle, doesn't mean they have a big financial battery. So, first, I would say throw out the notion if you see somebody spending a lot of money, assuming that they have a lot of money. That doesn't always add up. More times than not, it doesn't. So, that's kind of the first part of that. And then when you're getting back into the limiting beliefs of working with somebody, our firm specializes in working with middle class families. I am a middle class kid. I grew up. I'm a middle class person. I have two little kids. Middle class family is where I feel like I fit in. And the thing about my practice is that I can only work with, let's say, 250 households or so. And that's kind of where we are right now. But I want to help 100,000 middle class families out there. And so most people, when they start working with someone, they don't have money because people that are well off, let's say they do have a big financial battery, they have built up their investments, they probably had help. They didn't figure it out all on their own and then go to an advisor. They needed someone to help teach them and bring them along and get them there. And so even though on my door it says wealth management, it really should say want to have wealth management a lot of times. And
Yes.
I get calls from people and I speak with them. The first thing they say sometimes is, "Oh, I'm sure you have clients that are a lot bigger than me." And it's a self-deprecating
And
opening.
you're like,
It's okay. Like
yeah.
everybody needs help, and there are resources out there. Are there firms that want you to have $1 million before they start working with you? Sure, there's a lot of those out there, but there's also a lot of people out there that want to help middle class people. And so the Financial Pinwheel book, a big part of it is if you're not comfortable yet to say, "Hey, I want to go talk to an advisor. I want to put myself out there. I'm not comfortable with it yet." The book is a way that you can digest it on your own. The book is a way that you can read through it and get a sense of where am I exactly and build up your financial confidence enough to say, okay, I think now I'm ready to go speak to an advisor because I know the right questions to ask. I can know where I'm situated. I know where I might have some holes. And that's the point of it, trying to give people a way to consume important information in a way that they're comfortable. And so that's why there's videos that I have as well. So if you want to see someone teach you about these concepts, you can watch me on the whiteboard teaching you about them. There's an Excel calculating sheet. So if you don't want to do the math, it's not hard math, but if you don't want to do any of the math, you could just put in your basic information and the sheet will calculate all these important little pieces for you. And so just however people want to consume it, I want to try to put it out there for them so they can consume it in a way that they get a lot of value from it and that they're comfortable in that environment.
Right. And it's so not scary to be watching somebody on a screen versus that first initial sit across from somebody
Right.
live. So, no, that's fabulous that you have those YouTubes available. I keep hearing the word and I can feel it out of you too. It's like comfortable, bring down the stress. The whole point of all of this is absolutely not to raise it. And I think I got the privilege of hearing a personal story of yours. And I'd like for you to share it with our community because it really paints the picture of how the stress can come down when we unveil the facts.
Right. Yeah. So my son was born. He's 5 now, but when he was first born, he came home from the hospital. And anybody out there that has children, when you bring a beautiful new baby into the world, they're perfect. It's just something that didn't exist yesterday exists today now. And so my wife Lauren and I, we bring him home and everything's going well. And then we start noticing a couple bumps on his belly. And baby skin can be a little rashy. So at first we didn't put too much mind into it. We weren't too worried about it. But then it started to get worse and they started to look more blistery. And we said, okay, this is something we have to address. We have to ask the doctor about. Of course, we came to this realization at night when the pediatrician is closed. So we leave a message for the pediatrician, and then I'm up all night worrying because you go on your phone, you see everything that could possibly go wrong. It's just a terrible idea to look on your
It's
phone when something's going wrong.
terrible.
We all do it. And so I'm freaking out about, oh, could it be this? Could it be that? The next day we go to the pediatrician and they say it's impetigo, which is not something that's great, but it's something that's treatable. You need a prescription kind of Neosporin to treat it. But at that point, I was fine because I knew what it was. I knew what I had to do to fix it. And even though the next week we spent holding my son Noah's arms up so that we could put the lotion and the cream on his belly and he wouldn't touch it, it wasn't enjoyable to go through all that. But we knew what it was. We knew what we had to do. And once that unknown was taken away and we knew that course of action, it just made all the difference in the world. I didn't have trouble sleeping anymore. We were good to go. So it really, whether it's health or finance or anything else, that unknown piece, if we can remove it, it just sets us free to be able to take the action to make our lives better.
I love that you just said course of action. It's so true. I can't tell you how many people come into our first session and they're like, I just feel like I have all this. People who aren't watching us can't see me, but have all these things floating around up here. And what I do as a coach is we pull them all down on paper, right? And
Right.
once you can see them, then you have a course of action. And then there's this like shoulders come down and there's a piece about it. It's not that it's not still work. And that's what you're saying too. It's not that we're not about to go out and do some work, but
Mhm.
at least we know how to go approach it with a direction and the idea that it doesn't have to have perfection around it. We just have to stay the course. And that's kind of reminding me of something else that I got privy to with one of our conversations is this course of you mentioned short type info versus long.
Mhm.
And I want you to go into that because I picture this with the holidays just being over and like when you have all these YouTubers and people doing short bursts at us of information. And yes, it's exciting. Yes, like we can pull from it, but there's something really beautiful about more information, long-term information. It's not always as exciting. And I think it's hard to get people to settle in to listen to it, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
So I want your opinion on that too, but I'll shush and you go with your thinking.
No, yeah, no, I 100% am of the same mindset. So there in music, I'm not overly musical, but in music there are, short lines and long lines. And so essentially, if you listen to the national anthem, it's probably been sung by 1,000 different people in 1,000 different ways. And if you took any one little short line, little piece, two, three notes, they all probably sound the same or very, very similar. But if you listen to certain people sing the entirety of the national anthem, the long line, have them carry you through that full performance, you have probably somebody who is your favorite person that sings the national anthem. So like for me, I'm in New Jersey area. I'm a big New York Ranger hockey fan. And once in a while on special occasions, they'll have an individual named John Brancy come and sing the national anthem. He's a deep voice. He comes out in a tux. He's got a shaved head. It's this whole, and you could see on his face, he knows he's going to do an awesome job. And he just carries you through it. And by the end of it, I just have goosebumps every single time. Same words, same notes, but that long line is so, so powerful. And so we want to try to provide people, I know I do, I know you do, with a long line. So it's not set it and forget it. There's no quick short-term things. You can just do once and then you're fine for the rest of your life. We also don't want to obsess about it on the other end of it, but in the middle, set it, check in, have a process, a plan, and let's just make sure we're going in the right general direction, and we're going to feel better about ourselves for doing that.
Well, I feel like I keep saying boring, but I ask the same thing of it's a settle in process, but it has beautiful results. And then the trick is, how do we keep people out of the quick fix thinking? Because you
Mm-hmm.
get that with finances too, don't you? Like the people who are promising millions, or what are some of your
Yeah.
biggest battles with quick fixes?
Everybody wants to be rich really quickly, kind of a thing. Get rich quick is a line that everybody knows because everybody's come across it. So any new
Mhm.
thing that comes out, so whether it be cryptocurrency or digital ways to tokens and stuff like that, any new thing that comes out, it's like, hey, can I jump on that really quickly? So HGTV has a new show every other week that seems to be, hey, you could flip houses and make $1 million. And so all of these things that are portrayed to you as really quick and easy to get really wealthy really quickly, that's out there everywhere. And people want that. Get rich quick again is that line. And so it's really trying to step people away, try to get back into that long line mindset so that they can do things that are practical for them. We're not all Steve Jobs. We're not all these people that can get out there and come up with ideas that change the world. But there are systematic, time tested, proven ways that you can go out there, put more in your own pocket than you pay out to other people, put it in the right things that are kind of spread out everywhere all the time, and go in that right direction. So it's not always the most energetic or exciting way to go about it. But again, it's a way that's going to keep you on the right path long term. Just like, a magic pill that you could take is probably not going to work out so well for you, that you're trying to get that short-term fix for. So the way that your mindset is, how you're approaching your health, your finances, get into the right mindset, and then have a long line information, long line approach to it to really keep you going in the right flow with your own music.
Yes, and I feel like your future self will thank you, right?
And I love how you said, like, look, where do you picture yourself down the road? What does your 80-year-old self look like? Because it's hard sometimes to have a connect those two long line. Where's the long line going to? Well, if you picture yourself at 80, this is who I want to be, and this is where I am now. Now you have an endpoint. Now you can connect that long line. I feel like that's a great way of phrasing it for people. So yeah, well done with that.
No, I can't claim it. It was a client. I steal the lines and they just resonate. It's
Mhm.
just, yes, thank you. Oh my goodness, this is so good. And I want to make sure everybody knows where to find you. So let us know where to find your book, your podcasts.
Yeah. So the book you can find on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Audible, whether you want to read it or listen to it, you can find it out there. Again, it's The Financial Pinwheel. Any of the online resources are found at thefinancialpinwheel.com. And if you're wanting to follow me on social media or see what I'm up to with releasing things regarding the Financial Pinwheel, just look up Joe Oakley Finance on Instagram, and that's where I put out most of my information on there.
Okay, pretend like our community, we're your kids. What would be your closing thoughts for us if we hear nothing else? What do you pray and hope that we heard today?
I hope that people heard that they don't need to be self-limiting when it comes to what they're able to do and the resources that are out there for them financially. If you walk out of this and you just hear, hey, I have resources that I could use. I don't have to be a millionaire to have resources and feel better about where I am. That would be just fantastic. Financial confidence is within your grasp. Not having unknowns is within your grasp. And that is really what makes us feel better about where we're going with everything.
Financial confidence. It's going on the list. Love it. Thank you, Joseph. You're amazing.
Thank you so much for your time today, Lindsay, and for sharing your community. And hopefully everybody got a lot of great stuff out of today's episode.
Yes, and you're always welcome to come back.
Thank you.